$D music.
Body player, but spirits no. No fit stop hustle day long. But most of life you know be wrong. Street light the shine like gold.
All right. Hey, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
You bet.
Today, we're tackling Shad Davies and his,
$D.
yeah, the $D podcast series
Right.
from his platform, im.a.
Okay.
We've got a bunch of excerpts, and
Yeah.
I gotta say, some of this stuff is pretty out there.
It is interesting. I think one of the most interesting things to me is that Davis doesn't just talk about manifestation like in the abstract.
Right.
He lays out like a very specific system, almost like a recipe
Yeah.
with some really unexpected ingredients.
Totally. Like, who would have thought that, like, water and begging and sacrifice would be, like, the keys to, like, unlocking your dream life?
Right.
It's not exactly like what you'd find in, like, your typical...
It's definitely not your average like manifestation guide.
Yeah.
And that's what I find so interesting about it.
Yeah.
And for Davis, like it all starts with water.
Water.
He calls it the primordial source.
Yeah, okay.
The foundation of everything in the universe.
You know?
So he even brings up like Genesis 1.2 where the Spirit of God hovers over the waters.
Right.
But
he doesn't stop.
he doesn't stop there.
He doesn't stop there.
He connects it to like the human body being mostly water.
Exactly.
How we all need water to survive.
Mhm.
It's like he's building a case for water being this like incredibly potent force.
Exactly. And from there, he introduces thought and emotion as like the building blocks of reality.
Okay.
He actually compares the process of manifestation
Okay.
to human conception.
What?
Saying that the parent thoughts and emotions during intercourse directly influence the
Yeah.
creation of a new life.
So that's a pretty...
I know, it's intense. It's pretty intense. But I can see where he's going with it.
Yeah.
Basically, he's saying that, like, our thoughts and emotions are, like, the blueprint for our reality.
Precisely.
Right.
And he believes
Okay.
that these thoughts and emotions exist within the water of the universe.
Within...
So it's not just about like positive thinking. It's about aligning your thoughts and emotions with like the very fabric of existence.
Okay, I'm starting to see how he's, like,
Yeah.
weaving these ideas together.
Mhm.
So where does the whole sacrifice thing fit into this, like, cosmic water thought emotion cocktail?
Well, Davis's idea of sacrifice is a bit different from what you might expect.
Yeah, how so?
It's not about like giving up material possessions or enduring physical hardship.
Okay.
He defines sacrifice as dedicating time
Okay.
to activities that are both hated and loved.
Hated and loved.
Yeah.
So his prime example of that is, like,
Like begging.
begging the universe for what you desire. I gotta admit, that one threw me for a loop.
That's a tough one.
Begging doesn't exactly scream, like, empowerment.
Right. It's not the most empowering word exactly.
No.
But that's exactly why Davis believes it's so powerful.
Okay.
Because he argues that begging requires us to like swallow our pride
Okay.
and acknowledge that we like don't have all the answers.
Okay.
You know, it's an act of surrendering our ego to a higher power.
So in a way, the act of begging itself becomes the sacrifice. Like, we're sacrificing our sense of, like...
Yeah, your sense of self-sufficiency.
Self-sufficiency, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's very specific about how this begging should be done.
Oh.
Like, he recommends spending at least 30 minutes to an hour every day.
Every day.
For 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
On your knees.
Okay.
Literally begging the universe
Wow.
while visualizing.
That's intense.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Okay.
And he doesn't just leave it at that.
Oh, no.
He even incorporates a whole ritual with a glass of non-alcoholic soda.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
He instructs listeners to hold the glass of soda while begging and visualizing,
Okay.
and then drink it after the begging session.
Oh, wow.
He says it symbolizes like ingesting your desires.
So you're, like, ingesting your desire.
Yeah, making them a part of your physical being.
Okay, so he's got the water element in there, the thought and emotion through the visualization, and the sacrifice of begging, all wrapped up in this.
All together.
Yeah, very specific ritual.
Yeah.
It's definitely a unique approach.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
And what's even more intriguing is how he uses examples from both religion and popular culture
Really?
to
Why? It's like this.
support his claims.
Give me an example.
Well, he brings up the story of Elijah calling down fire from heaven
Okay.
by drenching the altar in water.
Oh, interesting.
He sees this as like proof that harnessing the power of water can lead to, extraordinary results.
Interesting. So he's not just pulling these ideas out of thin air.
Yeah.
He's trying to, like, ground them in, like...
Ground them in existing narratives.
Existing narratives and traditions.
In traditions, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he does the same thing with modern-day figures like Elon Musk. And Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, I can see that.
He attributes their success to, like, their alignment with the universal principles he's outlining.
Okay.
It's like he's saying, look, these concepts aren't just like ancient myths. They're operating in the world today, shaping the lives of, highly successful people.
It's almost like he's created a, like, hybrid system.
Yeah, it's a hybrid
that blends, like, ancient wisdom with...
Yeah, like ancient wisdom meets modern aspirations.
Modern aspirations.
Yeah.
But there's one piece of this puzzle we haven't talked about yet.
Right.
His ideas on value and worth.
Oh, yeah.
This is where things get a little...
This is where it gets a little controversial.
Controversial, yeah.
Yeah, Davis has a very specific view on how an individual's value is directly reflected in their income.
Okay.
Like, he suggests that your level of wealth is a direct measure of your spiritual alignment.
So if you're struggling financially, that means you're not spiritually aligned.
Yeah, which can be discouraging.
Yeah, discouraging for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's definitely a complex issue.
Totally.
While there's, something to be said for the idea that, like, our inner state can influence our outer reality.
Right.
Yeah. It's important to be cautious about, like, equating financial success with spiritual worth.
Yeah, I think, there are plenty of people who are financially successful.
Right.
But might not be considered, like...
Yeah, not exactly spiritually evolved.
Spiritually evolved, yeah.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, like, reducing someone's value to their bank account balance feels a bit...
Yeah, it does feel a bit oversimplified.
But it's oversimplified. Yeah.
There's definitely a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
Than Davis seems to acknowledge.
Yeah, and it's important for us to, like, keep that in mind as we, like, continue to, like, explore his ideas.
And explore these ideas.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Before we move on, is there anything else about, like, Davis's core concepts?
Yeah. What I find fascinating is how Davis manages to connect these, like, seemingly disparate elements, the water, begging, sacrifice, into a cohesive system.
Yeah.
It's like he's taken these ancient concepts and repackaged them.
Right.
For, like, a modern audience that's hungry for success and fulfillment.
Success and fulfillment, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a thought-provoking blend of the spiritual and the practical.
It is.
And it raises some, like, really interesting questions about the nature of manifestation, the role of ego, and the pursuit of wealth in, like, the 21st century, right?
Yeah, it does.
We'll be back in a moment to continue unpacking these ideas, so don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned.
So as we kind of dig deeper into Shad Davies's D-Dollar philosophy, one thing that really struck me is how he, like, positions himself as, like, a living testament to, like, his own teachings, He repeatedly mentions being a billionaire and, like, earning over $100,000 a month.
Right. It's an interesting tactic, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Like, he's essentially using his own, like, claimed success as a marketing tool. Totally.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's saying, look at me, I've cracked the code to wealth.
Right.
And you can too if you follow my methods.
Yeah, and he doesn't shy away from, like, strong language either.
No.
There's quite a bit of, like, profanity sprinkled throughout his podcasts.
Yes.
Which isn't something you typically, like, associate with. Like,
yeah, you don't usually associate that with spirituality.
Yeah, so you, as someone who has, like, studied various spiritual traditions, what do you make of that?
It's definitely unconventional.
Yeah.
But I think it's a deliberate choice on Davis's part.
Okay.
Like, he's trying to break away from that stereotype of, like, the stuffy, esoteric spiritual guru.
Right.
He wants to be, like, relatable, even edgy.
Okay.
He's using a language that resonates with a certain audience.
Perhaps those who wouldn't typically gravitate towards spirituality.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely a way to stand out.
Yeah, it is.
In a crowded
market.
Self-help market.
Yeah, the self-help market is pretty crowded.
Totally.
Yeah.
It is. So let's dive into, like, some of the specific techniques he recommends.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the, like, begging ritual.
Right.
But he also places a lot of emphasis on, like, visualization.
Yes. Visualization is a core element of Davis's system.
Okay.
He encourages his listeners to vividly imagine their desired outcomes,
Okay.
to feel the emotions associated with achieving those goals.
Okay.
He believes that this act of, like, mental creation sets the wheels in motion for manifestation.
But it's not just about, like, daydreaming, right?
No, it's not just daydreaming.
He connects it back to the water concept,
Yeah.
saying that our thoughts and emotions actually, like, imprint themselves on the, like, water
The water of the universe?
of the universe, yeah.
Exactly. For Davis, visualization isn't just a mental exercise.
Right.
It's a way to interact with the very fabric of reality.
Okay.
He suggests that by, like, focusing our thoughts and emotions,
Okay.
we're essentially sending out a signal to the universe,
Okay.
shaping the energy around us.
And that's where the, like, begging comes in, right? It's almost like a two-pronged approach.
Right, it is.
You've got the, like, focused intention of visualization combined with the, like, humility and surrender of begging.
It's like he's saying that we need both the drive and the humility to manifest our desires.
Okay.
You know, the drive to, like, visualize and take action.
Okay.
And the humility to acknowledge that, you know, we don't have complete control over the outcome.
Right.
Yeah.
And he uses the example of Cristiano Ronaldo
Oh.
to, like, illustrate this point.
Yeah.
He claims that Ronaldo's success as a footballer is not just about, like, talent and hard work,
Right.
but also about aligning himself with these, like,
Right, with these universal principles.
universal principles. Yeah.
He suggests that Ronaldo, perhaps unknowingly,
Uh-huh.
engaged in practices similar to those he teaches, prayer, visualization,
Sure.
and a willingness to, like, push beyond his limits.
Okay.
You know, he presents Ronaldo as a sort of role model
Okay.
for manifestation, someone who embodies both the ambition
Okay.
and the surrender necessary for success.
Okay.
You know,
It's an interesting way to connect these concepts to a figure that, like, many people admire and aspire to, like,
right. It makes it more tangible, more
Right.
achievable.
emulate. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But he also acknowledges that there are, like, forces that can, like, block this flow of manifestation.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. He talks about negative thoughts and emotions as, like,
Yeah. He describes these negative energies as like a heavy soul
okay.
weighing you down
Okay.
and preventing you from, like, rising to the level of your desires.
So it's not just about, like, adopting certain practices, but
Yeah.
also about, like, clearing out the, like,
Clearing out the clutter.
yeah, mental and emotional clutter that's
Yeah, the mental and emotional clutter that's holding us back.
holding us back. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about creating a more, like,
More fertile inner landscape
well, yeah, inner landscape
for our desires to take root.
for our desires to take root. Yeah,
Like you said earlier.
totally.
Yeah.
And this is where the, like,
And this is where the concept of sacrifice comes back into play.
concepts of sacrifice comes back into play. Yeah.
Davis believes that sacrifice is a crucial tool
Okay.
for, like, lightening the soul,
Okay.
for releasing the grip of negativity.
He compares it to, like, the pain of childbirth,
He does.
suggesting that just as a mother, like, endures pain
Yeah.
to bring forth new life,
To bring forth new life?
we too must embrace, like, discomfort
Right.
to, like, birth our dreams.
It's a powerful analogy.
Yeah.
And it speaks to his belief that true growth and transformation
Okay.
often involve, like, pushing through resistance and facing our fears.
And he sees, like, begging as a particularly potent form of sacrifice
Right.
because it requires us to, like, confront our pride and ego.
Yes, it requires you to confront your pride and
Yeah,
ego.
it's an act of, like, surrendering our need to be, like, in control.
Surrendering your need to be in control
Yeah.
and acknowledging that we need, you know, help from a force greater than ourselves.
And, of course, that force for Davis
That force ultimately resides in water.
ultimately resides in water.
Yeah, he keeps circling back to this idea
Yeah.
that everything originates from water
Yeah.
and returns to it.
He sees water as a conduit for, like, consciousness.
Yeah, a medium through which
Yeah.
thoughts and emotions can manifest
Yeah.
into physical reality.
So when he talks about, like, begging the universe,
Right.
it's almost like he's picturing this, like, vast ocean of
Right. A
like,
vast ocean of consciousness.
that we're, like, dipping into
Yeah.
trying to, like, connect with.
Yeah. And the water ritual with the drinking of the soda further reinforces this connection.
Right.
You know, it's a symbolic act of ingesting your desires,
Yeah.
making them a part of your physical being.
It's interesting how he blends these, like, ancient, almost, like,
Yeah, it's interesting how he blends those ancient concept.
Mystical concepts with like a modern understanding of like
Yeah, with a modern understanding of energy
energy and vibration.
and vibration.
Yeah.
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 It is interesting how he does that.
He even draws like parallels between his teachings and like biblical stories,
Yeah.
like the story of like
Elijah calling down fire.
calling down fire from heaven.
From heaven, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He interprets this as an example of how, like, aligning yourself with the power of water
Yeah.
can lead to, like, miraculous results.
He sees Elijah's act of like drenching the altar in water.
Right. Drenching the altar.
Has a like symbolic recognition of like
Symbolic recognition of water's creative potential.
water's creative potential. Yeah.
And the fire that descends
Yeah.
represents, like, the manifestation of Elijah's desires.
It's like he's creating like a mythology for manifestation,
It is, yeah.
weaving together like ancient wisdom,
Right.
modern success stories,
Modern success stories and his own personal experience.
and his own personal experiences. Yeah.
It is a compelling narrative.
It is a compelling narrative,
It
but he
is.
also adds like a layer of exclusivity to his teachings.
Yeah.
He does. He warns against like sharing these secrets
Right.
with everyone,
Not everyone's right.
suggesting that not everyone is like ready
Right.
to receive this knowledge.
Exactly.
It's a tactic often used by like spiritual teachers and like
Right. Spiritual teachers
self-help gurus.
and self-help gurus. Yeah.
It creates a sense of like mystery and like
Mystery and intrigue.
intrigue. Yeah.
It makes the teachings feel more valuable.
Making the teachings feel even more like
More valuable and more powerful.
valuable and powerful.
Yeah.
But it also raises some like
It does raise questions.
questions like who gets to decide?
Right. Who gets to decide?
Who's ready for this knowledge?
Who's ready for this?
And what happens if it falls into the like
Right. What if it falls into the wrong hands?
wrong hands? Could it be
Did
like
you misuse?
misused or manipulated?
Yeah, it's a valid concern.
Yeah.
Like any system of belief,
Right.
no matter how well-intentioned,
Yeah.
can be distorted or
Right.
abused.
Totally. It's important to approach these ideas with like discernment and
With discernment and critical thinking.
critical thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crucial to remember that like Davis is presenting just one perspective,
Right.
and it's up to each individual to like decide
It's up to each individual to decide
what resonates with them
what resonates with them and what doesn't.
and what doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a like key takeaway from this deep dive so far.
I think that's a key takeaway.
Yeah.
Davis offers a fascinating lens through which to view manifestation. But it's essential to remember that it's just one lens among many.
Exactly. And in the final part of our deep dive, we'll continue to explore Davis's teachings,
Right.
analyzing his views on value, success, and his call to become
The chosen one.
the chosen ones.
Yeah.
Join us after the break as we continue to unpack these
Intriguing ideas.
intriguing ideas.
Ah.
All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive
The
into
world of Shad Davies
Shad Davies.
and his D-dollar philosophy.
Yeah, his D-dollar philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground from like
Literally.
water rituals to begging the universe.
Yeah. It's been a journey.
And I've got to say, some of this stuff is really pushing my boundaries.
Pushing your boundaries.
Yeah, of what I thought like manifestation was all about.
It's definitely not your typical self-help fare.
Yeah.
Like, what strikes me is how Davis combines this almost like mystical approach
Okay.
with a very like practical, results-oriented mindset.
Okay, so like a mystical and practical combination.
Yeah, it's like mystical but practical.
Yeah.
He's constantly emphasizing the importance of like putting in the work
Okay.
and taking action.
So he's not just saying like sit back, think positive thoughts, and wait for the universe to deliver.
No, it's not at all.
He's really stressing that manifestation requires
Nice.
effort.
Effort.
Yeah.
And a willingness to like
Yeah.
step outside your comfort zone.
And that's where the concepts of like
Right. That's where begging and sacrifice come in.
sacrifice come into play.
Like, it's about pushing past your ego,
Okay.
confronting your limitations, and surrendering to a power greater than yourself.
And he uses like a pretty powerful example
Oh,
to illustrate this point, like Jesus weeping
Drop
at
the
the
other one.
tomb of Lazarus.
that is powerful.
He interprets those tears as an like emotional sacrifice,
Oh, interesting.
an act of surrender that like paved the way for the miracle of resurrection.
That's fascinating. Davis seems to believe that, like, emotions are incredibly potent, that they can literally shape reality.
Okay.
And by consciously embracing difficult emotions like grief or humility,
Okay.
we can tap into, like, a deeper well of creative energy.
it ties back to his idea that we need to, like, lighten our souls.
Right, lighten your soul.
To make space for our desires
Right.
to manifest.
Make space for your desires, exactly.
And that often means, like...
Yeah, that often means facing your fears.
Facing our fears.
And releasing the negativity that's weighing us down.
Releasing the negativity.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how he connects this back to the
Right, back to the water metaphor.
water metaphor.
He talks about how water can, like, cleanse and purify.
Okay.
And how by engaging in practices like begging and visualization,
Right.
we're essentially cleansing our inner waters,
Okay.
making them more receptive to the flow of abundance.
Yeah, and then there's that whole ritual of, like, drinking the soda
Oh, right, the soda.
after visualizing your desires.
Ingesting your desires.
It's such a, like, visceral image.
It is. It's very visceral.
Literally ingesting your goals and making them a part of you.
It's like he's saying that manifestation isn't just about, like, mental or emotional alignment.
Right.
It's about embodying your desires on a physical level.
Okay.
He's bridging the gap between the spiritual and the material.
Bridging the gap.
Yeah.
But he also makes this distinction between people whose world is working for them and those who are indebted to the world.
Interesting.
He attributes this difference to, like, an individual's value,
Yes.
suggesting that, like, those who are aligned with universal principles naturally attract wealth and abundance.
This is where things get a bit tricky.
This is where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
Because while I can appreciate the idea that our inner state influences our outer reality,
Right.
I'm hesitant to, like, fully embrace the notion that wealth is always a sign of, like,
Yeah, I can see that.
spiritual enlightenment.
It seems like there's a risk of, like, oversimplifying a complex issue.
Oversimplifying, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, reducing someone's worth to their income feels potentially harmful.
Totally.
Yeah, it reinforces a materialistic mindset
Right.
and could lead to feelings of inadequacy for those who, aren't financially well off.
Totally. Yeah, it's important to remember that success and fulfillment can manifest in many different forms.
Absolutely.
And financial wealth is just one metric.
Just one metric among many.
Among many, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of success,
Yeah.
Davis frequently points to Elon Musk as an example of someone who, like,
Right. Embodies these principles.
embodies these principles of manifestation.
Right.
He highlights Musk's, like, visionary thinking and, like, relentless pursuit of his goals as, like,
Right. His relentless pursuit.
evidence of his alignment with the, like, laws of abundance.
It's a compelling narrative.
It is a compelling narrative.
And there's no denying that Musk is a remarkable individual.
For sure.
But it's also worth noting that, like, Musk's success is a result of, like, a complex interplay of factors.
Right.
Including, privilege, opportunity, and sheer hard work.
Yeah, it's not as simple as
It's not that simple.
just aligning your thoughts and emotions
It's more complicated than that.
with the universe. Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's certainly something to be said for the power of, like, mindset and belief.
Absolutely.
It's important to avoid, like, attributing success
Right.
solely to, like, spiritual alignment.
Yeah, you can't just attribute it to spiritual alignment.
There are, like, systemic factors at play that can either, like, help or hinder someone's ability to, like,
Right, systemic factors.
achieve their goals regardless of their, like,
Right, regardless of their spiritual practice.
spiritual practices.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's an important nuance to, like,
Is an important nuance.
consider. It speaks to the broader conversation about, like,
Yeah, about privilege and access
privilege and access
that we need to be having.
that we need to be having.
Especially within, like, the self-help
Yeah.
and personal development space.
Personal development space, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Now, towards the end of his, like, podcast series, Davis issues a call to action.
Okay, what's the call to action?
He encourages his listeners to become, like,
Okay.
the chosen one.
The chosen ones, all right?
To, like, embody the qualities of Jesus and
Man.
help others to, like, succeed.
So embody Jesus
Right.
and help others succeed.
What did you make of this?
I mean, it's a common thread in many spiritual teachings, this
Okay.
idea of using your knowledge and power to uplift others.
Right.
And while it's a noble aspiration,
Okay.
I think it's important to be mindful of how this message might be interpreted.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. Like, there's a fine line between
Yeah, there is a fine line.
empowering people and
Yeah.
creating a sense of, like,
Yeah, a sense of elitism.
elitism or superiority.
Superiority.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's crucial to, like, approach this idea of being chosen
Yeah.
with humility
Yeah.
and, like, a genuine desire to serve others
Okay.
rather than using it as a way to, like,
Yeah,
elevate yourself above others.
totally. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Shad Davies, I'm curious, like,
Yeah.
what are your final takeaways?
I think Davis's system is undeniably thought-provoking.
Yeah.
He's taken like ancient concepts like water, begging, and sacrifice
Yeah.
and woven them into like a modern framework for manifestation
Right.
that clearly resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And while I might not agree with all of his claims,
Right.
I appreciate his emphasis on like the importance of action, surrender, and pushing beyond your comfort zone.
Totally. His teachings challenge us to like confront our limitations and like
Confront your limitations.
embrace the unknown.
Embrace the unknown.
And that's a powerful message.
It is a powerful message.
Regardless of whether you like buy into the like
It's a thing.
specifics of his system.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that like the journey of self-discovery and growth is often like
It's messy.
messy and unconventional.
Messy and unconventional.
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Nope.
And sometimes like the most profound breakthroughs.
Yeah.
When we're willing to like question our assumptions.
Yeah.
And explore perspectives that might seem,
Okay.
strange or even a little bit crazy.
Well said. And on that note, we'd like to thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the unconventional world of Shad Davies.
Thanks for joining us.
We hope this exploration has sparked your curiosity and given you some new insights to ponder.
Some new insights.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Then girls they sell them what they go. Every night it be simple. Money cost story on full. Free